We just welcomed tens of thousands of Red Raiders back to Lubbock as Texas Tech starts. And in our coverage of how this issue affects us locally, we've seen a lot of Red Raiders welcome that plan, many of them getting $10,000 to $20,000 knocked off of their student loans. You have been highly critical of that, though. But the question that I would ask you then is for these Red Raiders that we have in our community who are graduating with an average of $30,000 in student debt by the time they walk the stage and receive their diploma, what kind of alternatives would you guide the federal government to offer them to remove some of those burdens if not President Biden's plan?
Well, listen, Biden's student loan giveaway is facially illegal. There is zero authority under federal law for him to give away $1 trillion. This is an election year gambit. He's trying to buy votes because he recognizes that Democrats are headed to a very bad election in November. But $1 trillion at a time when inflation is exploding, the fact that Joe Biden says, let's add another trillion on top of it is wildly irresponsible. It will drive up your costs. I'll tell you, for those Red Raiders, you know the consequence of this? You're going to see tuition at every university in America rise as a result of Biden's student loan giveaway. You know, we saw this with the federal government's subsidies for electric cars, that within days of the federal government passing a $7,500 subsidy for electric cars, the car makers jacked up the price $7,000 to $8,000. They just immediately raised it, said thank you for the money, and took it away. It didn't help people. But I'll tell you what is really problematic about Biden's illegal student loan giveaway is it's unfair. It's unfair to two different groups of people. One, it's unfair to the people who worked and saved and either paid for college or took loans and paid those loans back. Listen, I took a lot of student loans. When I went to college, my parents had just declared bankruptcy. My father was an immigrant from Cuba. They'd gone broke. They had a small business in the oil and gas business, and they were utterly broke. I was 17 and financially on my own. When I left college and grad school, I had about $100,000 in student loans. And I paid off those student loans for about 20 years till I was finally able to pay them off. There are tens of millions of Americans just like that who responsibly worked hard and saved and paid off their loans. And this giveaway is wildly unfair to them. But it's even more unfair to blue collar workers. It's even more unfair to truck drivers and to waiters and waitresses and to farmers out on a cotton farm outside of Lubbock, because all of the people that didn't go to college or university, and the vast majority of Americans didn't go to college or university, they're being forced to pay for Biden's giveaway to college grads. And by the way, college grads tend to be substantially wealthier. So this is the opposite of Robin Hood. Remember Robin Hood? He took from the rich and gave to the poor. What Joe Biden is doing is taking from the poor and giving to the rich, and it's backwards. It's unfair, and I think we ought to be standing with the working men and women, with the blue-collar workers. We ought to be standing with truck drivers and steel workers and cops and firefighters and waiters and waitresses, not engaged in illegal and unfair giveaways.
I know you have to run, Senator. I do quickly want to touch on one more important topic to people here in Lubbock. Our representatives here have made news recently for some of the plans that they've unveiled regarding abortion rights in light of the end of Roe v. Wade. It looks likely that Republicans are the odds-on favorite to take the House come January. On your side of the Capitol, maybe a little more up in the air, but let's assume for the sake of argument that Republicans have control of the legislative branch come January. Our congressman who represents Lubbock here, Jody Arrington, has said that he's in talks with Republicans in the House to present a federal ban on abortion once they do score a majority. Are you aware of those conversations, and is that something that you would support pursuing?
Well, Jody is a friend. I think he's doing a terrific job representing the people of Lubbock. I'll tell you, I think, number one, in November, we're going to see big victories. We're going to see historic victories. I think we're going to see the House, Republicans retaking the majority. I think we're going to retake the majority in the Senate as well. Number two, it's important to understand what the Supreme Court did in overturning Roe versus Wade. A lot of Democrat politicians have been dishonest with the voters, and they've suggested the Supreme Court somehow struck down abortion. That's not what the Supreme Court did. What the Supreme Court did was to say this is an emotional, contested issue. People disagree. People disagree strongly. It's a personal issue. It's an emotional issue. People have strong views. And what the Supreme Court said is this should be decided by the democratic process. The voters should decide. And so the Supreme Court's decision was a tremendous victory for democracy because it lets we the people decide what the appropriate rules are. I think that's the way the Constitution was designed, that contested issues of public policy shouldn't be decided by 9 unelected judges. They should be decided by the voters, and that's what this decision did. Now, in terms of where we go from here, I think as long as the Senate has filibuster rules in place, and I think the filibuster rules are going to remain in place a long, long time, you're not going to see legislation like that you suggested passing through Congress. The overwhelming majority of legislation concerning abortion will occur at the state level. It will occur down in Austin with the state legislature, and it'll occur at the state legislatures of all 50 states. And what we will see is different states will adopt different rules. In bright blue states, states like New York and California, you'll continue to have essentially unlimited abortion on demand up until the moment of birth. In redder states, states like Texas, I think you will see some meaningful restrictions, and I think those restrictions will vary state by state, depending on the values and the mores of the citizens there. And that's how our Constitution was designed, that it should be we the people making those decisions.
I wish we had so much more time to get into all of this, but Senator, for now, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on Talking Points.
Thank you. Appreciate it. God bless.